Look, this whole thing is a terrible situation. This should have never been allowed to happen. And, it's an embarrassment to our country. All over the world, they're talking about it. And, yeah, I would consider her a special prosecutor because, this is not a counsel. It sounds so nice. I went through 3 years of a special counsel prosecutor. I call prosecutor because it's a much more accurate term.
So that from Sunday Morning Futures with Maria here on Fox. And now we know this. Bill Barr has given John Durham the powers of his special counsel. In fact, it happened about 2 weeks prior to the election. That order allows him to keep investigating the Russia probe origins. Bill Barr, meanwhile, is at the White House as we speak. I want to bring in Karl Rove, talk about this and a little more. Karl, good afternoon to you. What do you make of the move on behalf of the AG about 35 minutes ago?
Well, we can guarantee that this Durham investigation will continue unless and until Joe Biden's administration decides it wants to have a gigantic political kerfluffle by firing him. I think this guarantees that Durham, who's a career prosecutor, he's not a Republican, not a Democrat, career prosecutor, was made U.S. attorney by George W. Bush for the state of Connecticut and turned around and indicted and sent to jail the Republican governor of Connecticut, who was a close personal friend of President Bush's. So he's a tough character. He's going to do what he thinks is right. This appointment gives him the authority to continue beyond the end of the Trump administration. The only way I think they can end this is for the new administration to basically fire him, and I think there'd be political heck to pay if they tried to do so.
He made another headline last hour. He talked about no fraud that's been found that would overturn the election. Just a quick comment on that as to why he's making that with the AP today.
Well, I think it's because the Attorney General felt he was asked a question. He felt the question deserved an answer, that the DOJ and the FBI had looked into some of the information that had been provided them and found no evidence of systemic fraud. Yeah, systemic, excuse me.
Did you see the Wall Street Journal? Rahm Emanuel is writing in that today. Here's the headline. It said how Biden can break the Senate stonewall. Start with issues that cross party lines for some ideas. Look to November's state ballot measures. It's an interesting piece. I don't know if you agree with it or not. That might be your first. If you did, go ahead and analyze it.
Well, I like the mayor and I respect him, and he and I do some speeches together, and actually we agree more often than you might expect, but I thought he was off the mark on this. Let's dissect it a little bit. 2 whiteboards real quick. He said, let's find issues that Republican senators benefit from breaking with their leadership, like the $15 minimum wage. In order to win re-election in 2022, let's get some Republicans to break with their leadership. That's not a good recipe in my mind. The first thing you want them to do is to break with the people that bring them to the dance and with whom they work. And then he said, let the president use executive orders and then ask Congress to pass them into law. Do everything you can by executive order and then turn to the Congress and say on immigration, the new Green Deal, prescription drugs and surprise billings, medical billings, let's require the Congress now to put into law what I have put into an executive order. Doesn't work. Can I remind you that in 2009, Mayor Emanuel was the chief of staff to Barack Obama during the discussion of the stimulus bill. The administration laid out its stimulus bill. The House Republicans came down in order to make recommendations about how to frame that bill. And that's the famous meeting where I suspect Rahm was there, where President Obama dismissed him by saying, I won. In other words, you don't matter. You need to get people to feel like they have a place at the table. Maybe you focus on incremental reforms. Maybe you try and find common ground. Maybe you let the House and the Senate pass bills and then take it to a conference committee and compromise. It's been done before. George W. Bush did it in his first year with a tax bill that a quarter of Democrats in the Senate voted for in June, and No Child Left Behind, which passed both the House and the Senate with gigantic margins by the end of the year. How did he do it? He got Democrats and Republicans together in a room. George Miller and John Boehner, House Democrat, House Republican, Ted Kennedy, Judd Gregg, Senate Democrat, Senate Republican, to lead the effort to find common ground. You don't get forward movement by saying, I have now put everything I can, jammed it into an executive order, and your job, Senate, Republican Senate, is to do what a Democratic president tells you to do and put that all into law.
Well, we'll see if that playbook happens at all. Karl, nice to see you today. Karl Rove with reaction on all that. Fresh.
You bet.
Thank you, sir.